For the children who were sent to state-run institutions, Kohitere, Hōkio and Epuni are places synonymous with violence, brutality and despair. Race Relations Commissioner Susan Devoy recently called upon the government to hold an inquiry into the historic abuse of Māori children, who were removed from their homes and whānau and placed into the care of the state. The government has refused. We dedicate today's episode of The Hui to a group of men we are calling Ngā Mōrehu, the survivors. Today they tell their story. And a warning, it contains language and subject matter that may disturb some viewers. Discretion is advised. More than 100,000 children were removed from their families and placed in state care facilities between the 1950s and 1980s.
Yeah, that would have to be one of the worst times of my life.
Kohitere.
Yeah.
Western jail.
Western jail.
Many were subjected to mental, physical and sexual abuse. What did you see? Is this the first time that you've opened up about what happened to you?
Yep, to anyone.
He took me into the showers and abused me for a long time.
The government refuses to hold an inquiry.
You know, I had horrific, inhumane shit done to me.
People knew this was happening. The problem is that we're too fast to bury things. An inquiry into the systemic abuse of this country, I think it's well overdue myself.
For the first time, 4 former wards of the state come together to share their story.
Tūtūra of te akamau kia tūnga.
Tūnga.
Haumea hui e.
Tai. Māori order. Can I just start with, how are you feeling about sharing these stories today?
A little bit nervous, but I'm up for this.
There's a couple of times where I was going to pull out, actually, trying to be strong for young New Zealanders, particularly young Māori, is why I'm doing it.
There was heaps of us that went through the shit, and my theory is we all dealt with it different ways. You know, some turned to the church, some turned to the gangs, some committed suicide, some bottled it up and got on with life.
When I was young, I just fully put a fucking lid on it and screwed it as tight as I could.
Hohepa, you've got 9 children and lots of mokos now. Do they know what you've suffered?
No, they don't. But for me, it's coming here today is to find peace of mind.
Don't know where it's going to go. Don't know what I'm going to have to say over and above letting the truth out there for everyone to see it in its entirety. Well, for the most part, I was a happy child. I enjoyed everything that other children enjoyed. Loved school, loved education. I thought I had a good childhood. For the most part, growing up in the small gated community in the King Country that I'm from, it's a good life.
I was a happy child, actually, full of life, always smiled. We had a happy relationship as a family that I remember. One that I missed a lot. When Mum and Dad separated, I couldn't understand what was going on or didn't know how things were as far as the family was concerned.
We had a big family. My father, he was a minister of a church. He was quite old when I was born. He was 56 when I was born. And we were brought up in a garden, really. We had 10 acres of garden. That was more important than anything else in our lives. And we would look forward to having homework because it meant not going in the garden. but that homework got reprioritised by our dad.
Was it happy?
Not always, not always. I feel for my sisters for what they went through in their lives. We were fortunate not to go through the same abuse that our sisters did. But it was, we coped.
I was pretty cheeky, I guess. Sporty, adventurous, happy.
What did your sisters think of you?
Oh, they loved me. We loved each other. You know, big family. You get awhina everywhere, aroha everywhere.
Turning 13 and having your father turn around and say, your mother fucked around on me, you're my brother's son. It's not a good feeling.
Was it because you were staying on the streets that you got picked up?
Yeah, I tried to commit suicide, actually. I tried to end my life at the age of 13. I felt let down by everything. When they picked me up, the state, I thought I was going to a better situation.
Was it better?
Nah, it wasn't better.
I was a bit of a cheeky boy, so I'd get up to mischief, thinking that it was fun, and yet it was stealing at the time. Because of that, and because of my anger during that time, they put me into a boys' home, Epuni boys' home.
We went to school to get away from home. And then when we were kicked out of school, we just hit the streets. My older siblings were state wards before I was. And so it was like a natural journey for us all to go into state care. I got taken to Wesleydale. And when they told me I was going there, I said, oh, no, ring my dad. You know, he'll want me home. And they rung him and he didn't want me at home. He said, yeah, take him to the boys' home. For me, that was, I was 11 and I just thought, well, Dad doesn't want me at home anymore. And that just stuck.
You know, my mum was dying and I wanted to be there for as long as I could be there with her because I knew she was going to not be there soon. I wasn't going to school because I was staying at home caring for my mum. I didn't want to leave her side. And so after she died, it was like everything happened that fast, I had no fucking time to grieve. From when she died and I was in care, it was like, 6, 8 weeks or something pathetic like that. They just took me out of home, so there wasn't as many children for my dad to care for.
Do you remember the first night you were in there?
Yeah, I do.
Wow. I think I cried most of the night. That was when the fear set in.
I remember pissing the bed on my first night and getting teased by all the boys. And then, you know, one of the night staff came in and pulled me away from the boys, and I kind of thought, oh, that was awesome. You know, got me out of the shit, and then he beat the shit out of me.
I got a hiding the first night. They called it the blanket show.
And a group of 5 older boys came into the room, covered me with a blanket, and then started hitting me with pillowcases that contained 2 bars of soap.
Went into my room, blanket, and stomped. You know, I was just a little fella too.
I sat and pissed myself in just pure fear.
Were the staff around?
Staff around, they allowed this shit to happen.
And was that pretty much what happened from there on in?
Yep, violence. Straight away into it.
Did you tell anyone?
No,
Could you tell anyone?
no. I remember having to get up one morning and run around. And I'm pretty sure I was naked. Run around, couldn't run anymore. fucking collapsed, exhausted, and just literally got the shit kicked out of me
By the staff member?
by the staff member.
What did he say?
They just called me everything, you useless little piece of shit. And then was in my cell, and then, yeah, fucking must have gone unconscious. I remember waking up and having to wash my shit off me with my own urine.
So he kicks the shit out of you, knocks you out, and then he's in charge of you again the next day.
Yep.
I had run away and I'd been brought back, and the staff member that I ran away from was on the night shift. And when I saw that, I just nutted out. I knew what he was going to do to me. And I begged the cops to not leave me there. There was one other staff member on, and I attacked that person. And then I got dragged away by the guy that I ran away from. And he took me into the showers and abused me for a long time, for over an hour. And it seemed like all night. When I think of it now and think that he was a qualified social worker and a pedophile all in one, and how I wonder how he thought he could get away with it, but he did.
What did you see?
A 9-year-old boy being held down and sodomised by grown men. The muffled cries of that young man haunt me today.
How did you deal with it? Did you talk about it or just forget about it?
Yeah, there was a lot of shame, even though, you know, there might have been, when I was in the home, there might have been 20 of us there, and all 20 of us had gone through the same thing, but we wouldn't talk about it with each other. But we knew that it had happened to us all, and it was, there was a sense of trying to be staunch, and therefore not sharing those times where we were made to be vulnerable.
When you're placed in those institutions, you gotta be the tough guy. You gotta be the lion. If you look rough, people leave you alone. If you look conservative, you'll fear prey for every animal in the jungle. So tattooing and trying to look as rough as you possibly can were the two most important things that you had at your disposal.
What do you do to survive?
Fuck everything, anything. You become a fucking animal. You know, you get that dude that's beaten you, you just get stronger and better and faster. Mm.
I fought to get to the top so that nobody would touch me. But I looked after myself and I made sure my wall was all blocked and ready to go.
Rather than being the victim, I became the bully in those homes, and I would try to influence others to take the same course of action that I was doing, and I'd manipulate younger boys into taking my place in situations where abuse was going to happen, and that was hard. It still is hard. Because I see those boys' faces. Mm.
The more that I was institutionalised, the harder I became. By the time I got to jail, I'd learned how to fight properly. I'd learned all of the stuff that they learnt in jail. And I brought it all together and I dished it out to whoever was in front of me, whether it be a friend or a foe. That's how that system worked for me.
I've got a letter here that you wrote to your family, and you didn't say anything.
No.
You said, I'm learning woodwork, I'm doing this, I'm going to make you a cabinet. How come you didn't tell anyone? What was...
Well, one, your letters are censored.
Right.
So if I'm writing going, fuck, they're beating me. They're locking me up, they're kicking the shit out of me. They wouldn't have got to my sister.
No one knew back in those days because it was a narking thing. It was classed as a no-no.
Where'd he go?
Yeah.
You got no one to go to. You know, you have social workers and then senior social workers. They're just as much as fucking bad as each other.
So you just learn not to trust anyone?
You don't trust anyone. You don't say anything about anything.
What was life like after that? What'd you do?
It was just jail. After Kohitere, it was just... I look at... In hindsight, I look back and go, oh, that was just fucking getting me ready for jail.
After I left Epuni, went to Rangipo, ended up in jail in Wellington.
Jail at 15?
Jail at 15.
What was that like?
Oh, it was better than being in the boys' home.
Mount Crawford Prison, Owairaka, and back down at Mount Crawford, I did a stint in Napier. So this Māngai chased me for 30 years.
All they did was taught me how to hate, how to hurt, and how not to care about the feelings of other human beings.
Nothing, like the shit that I was giving out, nothing felt right ever. And as I got older, you know, the assaults, all the bad shit that I was doing, nothing felt right. You know, I wasn't going into it going, yeah, I'm going to go rob this fucking post office to get some money, and it felt real good. It didn't feel, even afterwards, I'd be counting the money going, fuck, that was just so fucking wrong.
Do you think it has prevented you from, you know, the potential that you had?
Of course it has. You look at my brothers that have gone through it with me, that are in gangs. You know, they're not just fucking chump gang members. These are captains of fucking clubs. They're presidents of gangs. They're leaders. You put them in the real world, you know, they'd be captains of industry.
If they had the opportunity.
The opportunities were there, but we were never fucking going to get them.
When I got to know the people within the Black Power, I found that they had been in Kohitere and they had been in Hokio, some had been in Owairaka, and so I straight away had an affinity with them, and it kind of felt like I was in the boys' home without the social workers, which didn't feel bad.
Were there specific things in your adulthood that you think it's affected?
My ability to make healthy connections.
Yeah.
Healthy connections with people that love me, my wife, my children, my muckles.
I was living a relationship where I had 2 children at the time, babies, that I had missed and I had never seen because of the way that I was.
When I saw what was happening in other relatives' homes that was similar to what was happening in my home, that just encouraged the belief, I suppose, that abuse is just a part of growing up. And that, for me, determined that I didn't want to be part of my family or my hapu or my iwi. They were all the same people.
There's a lot of mental issues that you have to navigate through to get to what I call the light. And when you live and you're surrounded by darkness, it's hard to find your way back to the light.
Basically, I ruined 3 relationships and 5 kids, and I need to get them back. And if this is going to bring them back, then I'm here.
So you're here for the kids?
Yep, not only that, but for my wife too.
Your 5 kids, will be hearing this for the first time.
Yep.
What do you want to say to them?
I don't know. Lots.
Do you think it'll answer some questions for them?
I'm pretty sure it will. Yeah.
The scariest day of my life was when my first child was born, because knowing what I know, experiencing what I experienced, I don't want my child to endure that.
My daughter is 11 now, and my son's 10. There were times when I was that age, I felt like I was being treated like an adult, you know, and I didn't have time to be a kid, you know, so... And it's still hard for me with my kids. I try to allow them to be the children that they are.
What do you want to say to your kids if they're watching?
I love you so much. I'm so sorry I put you through this. But use my heart, use my soul, use my light. And I'm so sorry that my anger has caused a lot of grief.
I wasn't always proud of my dad. And I'm sure there's been times where my kids aren't proud of me. And I'm still learning, but I don't want them to think badly about me. I just want them to be proud. Yeah. Proud of themselves too. So don't want them to be ashamed of being Eugene Ryder's son or daughter.
What do you want your kids to know about you, Riwhi?
What do I want my children to know about me? Oh, hell. You know, just for a start, this is a good start. And they might be able to understand me a bit better, understand my points of view and why I think like I do, why I'm such a non-conformist, and why I have such a fucking grievance against the system that we live in.
What would an inquiry mean to you?
An inquiry into the systemic abuse of this country, I think it's well overdue myself.
We need this so that others don't follow our path. Who cares whether we're traumatized for a little bit? But everybody needs to know we need this so that we can stop the violence.
I feel like this shit needs to be told so people understand, and I feel like our children, they're suffering from the shit, you know? They're the victims. You know, our children, our partners, our brothers, our sisters, our mothers, our fathers.
The least it would do would show society the enormity of what happened and how many people it happened to. I do reflect the thoughts that LB Epuni talked about, that at every time we did something wrong, we were held responsible. And so I suppose it's a matter of the state accepting the responsibility that they did fuck up.
How are you all feeling about having shared it?
Yes, for me, it's a great weight off my shoulders. Yeah, it's good to get rid of it. It's just a great weight off my shoulders.
I still got this kind of inkling that, you know, society will look at us and resort to that deserved versus undeserved, and we're still seen as everything that happened to us, we deserved.
How do you think this abuse that happened to you and all the rest has affected Māoridom? Do you think it's made an impact on us as a people?
It's changed the character of what we perceive aroha to be. We've been inundated with European views and European system for so long. We, for some time, lost our own cultural identity.
Do you feel ripped off that while you were institutionalised for so many years, you missed out on being Māori?
Yeah, I do. And I think you're right. I believe that if the right processes were in place, I would be standing on a pai right now, and I would be learning Māori. But because of their system, you're stigmatised as a criminal. You will always be stigmatised as a criminal, no matter what you do and where you go in life.
What kind of adult do you think, or person you may have been had you not have been taken away from your family?
I'll be fucking Prime Minister. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'll be looking after our people.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'd be housed and fed and clothed. Not sleeping in a fucking car.
Educated.
Yeah, bro.
Do you have a message for your brothers?
Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. Be proud of who you are. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's okay not to be okay.
Kia ora matua. Look after our young people.
Ka nui te mihi kia riwhi, koutou ko Eugene, ko Hohepa, ko Quentin. Me Ngā Mōrehu kato huri noa I te motu. We thank you for sharing your stories with us.